Hey, welcome to RESHAPE show today. This is our first time going live. My guest here is Holcomb from Kramer Management Group. Austin and I have known each other probably, 15 plus years, I'd say?
Pushing 20 probably.
Yeah. And Austin, we want to bring Austin on today because we're trying to talk about some of the different aspects that affect construction and how design and construction. And I thought, what better way than bringing in Austin from Kramer Management Group, who really gets to set the stage for how this stuff is all brought together. And these are the people that at the end of the day, we want to work for owners reps. For example, Austin's going to highlight some of the things that he was doing at McLaren Hospital here in Greater Lansing, $600 million project that's in the home stretch of wrapping up. But Austin, if you want to maybe give a little bit of introduction to beyond that, with what you do at Kramer Group.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for the invite today, Art. Glad to be here. I'm excited just to talk to everybody a little bit about our industry and some of the fun and exciting things we're seeing. I've been privileged to be working for Kramer Management Group. Kramer Management Group, our primary role is serving as owners' representatives for projects. One of our main clients is McLaren Healthcare, and I've been very lucky to be working on the new McLaren replacement healthcare campus here in Lansing, $600 million project. I've been involved with that project for a little over 4 years now. So it's coming to the end, and it's great to see what us and our partners, that's part of what we're here to talk about today is, what kind of partners we like to choose and see and how we bring those teams together.
So one of the things that we were talking about, Austin, was you guys are looking for people that are trying to do things different.
Absolutely.
Can you define that for us?
Well, so, we kind of joke at our office, or at least in my project office out there, that building the building is the easy part, right? So, just follow the design, put it together, right? But we want to see who can do that better, more efficiently. More efficiently doesn't always equal quicker, but schedule, quality, cost. Looking for ways that we can better improve all that. People that'll bring new project delivery to us. We've got a lot of knowledge out there that we can leverage through subcontractors, suppliers, vendors. So the old school, very linear delivery of a project, it's not what we're looking for anymore. We want people who understand the entire process, not just putting the building together. So from design to construction to procurement and occupying the building.
So one of the things that you were talking about, was you threw out the idea, think outside the box. And that's, people use that term all the time. But can you maybe give us an example of, say, a contractor that intrigued you guys to hire that was thinking outside the box? And what did they do?
Right. So, a lot of what we can do now, deals with leveraging technology, right? So it's taking those parts and pieces of the project and taking them to the next level. Through this replacement hospital that we've built, it's exactly that, replacement hospital. It's got every part and piece of a hospital. So when we start thinking about that, we can do a lot of things to design and mock up and ensure we're getting that design correct. But some of those areas of a hospital are difficult to mock up, to show to a clinician. Clinicians can't look at a two-dimensional drawing and understand exactly what they're getting. So too many times we design that with what we think is their input, but when we really get the space built and they move in, they said, "Hey, man, we had no idea it was going to look like this, right? We didn't know this was going to be like that. It doesn't work for us." So, how can we do that? How can we help them understand what we're designing and building for them? When it's a simple room, we can certainly build a mock-up, right? We've all built mock-ups. But when you get into something more complicated, whether it's an imaging room or a OR suite, it's just not practical to build a mock-up of an OR suite and hang all the lights and booms and all the equipment that goes in there. So on our project, for instance, we leveraged technology, used virtual reality to show the clinicians what they're going to get. We had the model. We brought that to the clinicians. We set it up with the virtual reality goggles. We had surgeons, nurses, respiratory therapists, all the clinicians were there. Had a surgeon actually put on the virtual reality glasses. We had it hooked up to a TV beside them, so they could So all their peers could see exactly what they're seeing, and they navigated around the room virtually. We got a lot of good input from them. They were talking with their peers, said, "Hey, Art, what do you think of this? Should we move this over here? Is this too far away?" So we got invaluable feedback for spaces that are, pretty complicated spaces and would be difficult and very expensive to fix after the fact if something didn't work for them.
I do remember talking to you about that one time over lunch, and you brought up that there was a lot of planning for that meeting because you're talking about getting surgeons out of the surgery rooms, and it had to go right.
Yes. Yeah, so we test drove that. We didn't want to go over there, and these are high dollar people, right? They make the hospital a lot of money. So if we're going to ask them to give us part of their day, we wanted to make sure we did it right. It took a while to get the bugs worked out. So we did some test drives, at our office and amongst ourselves before we went to these clinicians. But our partners on the project, and I keep saying partners because this was the design team and the construction team that made it happen, and we had both of them there presenting this to the clinicians. So it wasn't just a BIM guy, right? This was a team of experts leveraging technology to help us show these clinicians what they were going to get.
Let me ask you this. So you talked about, you obviously have a big role in hiring the construction managers, the designers. When, and you and I have been a part of several interviews where we've had to go and present ourselves, and now you're on the other side of the table. What kind of advice could you give these guys to prepare for potentially their next interview where Kramer Management Group is looking at hiring? What are you looking for?
So we want to make sure we want people that understand the owner's needs, not just understand how to build a building. There's a lot of great contractors or a lot of great designers that can design a building. A lot of people can build a building, but we want them to understand the entire process. So that's right from the programming through the occupancy of the building. There's a lot more that goes into a project than just putting the building together. So at the beginning of the project, when we're not just programming as a designer, right? We're not just saying here's so many square feet, but we need to understand workflow, right? We need to understand the right questions. When we're talking to these clinicians, you might have a group of nurses in there. You need to know the right questions to ask them to tease out the information that they need in order to put the right design together. The best designers and builders that we've worked with have resources in their company that have been on the owner's side or have been that subject matter expert. So when a designer comes to us and they have a former nurse or a former chief nursing officer, somebody that understands more about what happens in those walls, it's definite benefit.
Mm-hmm. So let's kind of turn the attention more to McLaren now for a minute, the project that you're currently how far away are you guys from being done?
We are getting real close. We'll see our first patient in March of next year.
Okay. So as you guys got into planning, what were some of the things that you guys, so there's a lot of different ideas that you guys had on the table. Which ones were maybe yours that you were pushing? Which ones were maybe some that other people brought? And then how did you guys get the team together? Because I know we've talked in years past that some players aren't as excited to try some of the stuff, and some are so far outside the box that you're like, whoa, calm down a little bit.
Right. Yeah, and absolutely. We had both ends of the spectrum. It's really, you got to start with listening to everybody's ideas, right? So you don't want to automatically dismiss an idea right out of the gate because you think it's too extreme, because you could take that and either it turns out to be a great idea or we dial it back a little bit. The beginning of our project, we've heard people talk about, last planner and those kind of scheduling, programs. We wanted to leverage scheduling technology. So we hired a consultant who brought to us, some pretty high level, pretty intense scheduling, theories. And, after we sat through a couple of days with that consultant, we had our contractors there, and we brought some good pieces away from it. But we decided at the end of the day that if we would have, used what they were teaching us, that we would have just been full-time scheduling a project rather than actually building the project. So did we get some good stuff from them? Absolutely. Did we implement it all? No. But well, we listened to them, and everybody came away a little bit more knowledgeable, and did have some stuff that we could use on the project.
What was I know some of the stuff here, but what was some of the things that you thought was unique to this project that you hadn't seen before?
Right. So we had the opportunity on this project. This is a large project. We've got some of the best design and construction firms around that could help us with this. And with especially the hospital that we were building. A hospital is a very repetitive building, right? So once we get up into a patient tower, lots of the same thing over and over and over again. So we leveraged pre-manufactured or prefabricated components. One of the big things we did was up through the patient tower, the corridors, we used multi-trade corridor racks that we prefabricated locally here. You can buy those components, from firms, but we were able to do it locally with local trades, with local talent, and put those together in an off-site warehouse. Brought them to the project and installed them. It was helped with our schedule, helped with the safety. There's a lot of intangibles that go along with that. It's the kind of stuff that we don't get an opportunity to do, especially here in Lansing or in the Michigan area a lot. They've been doing this in larger cities, or especially East Coast, West Coast for a lot of years. But we were able to bring that to Lansing, to our project specifically.
What were all of the trades? Were any of them hesitant with that at first?
Absolutely, there was quite a bit of hesitancy. There was it came from many different directions. There was just people that they've always built things the way they've built them, and it's just a reluctance to change. We've been doing it like this for decades. Why change now? There was people that were just afraid that maybe it wouldn't work. They're on board. They're not scared of the change, but what if it doesn't work? We're going to go build, thousands of feet of this system before we install it. What if it doesn't work? So there's that skepticism. There's always cost, right? So everybody's thinking about the cost. We think it's going to cost this, but what if we don't know? We're so comfortable with estimating things the opposite way, or the way we've always done it. How can we be certain we know what it's going to cost us? So it took a while for people to warm up to it, but there was enough people on the team that were committed to making it work that we found a way to make it happen.
Now, I'm sure we're hearing about the like in any gamblers, they always talk about their wins. Were there any things that you kind of tried and you're like, maybe not next time?
There were certainly pieces of it that we know we would do differently next time. We didn't have any big, no, we absolutely aren't going to do that again kind of moments. But there are definitely things that we learned. So we'll take those lessons learned and make it better on the next project.
Mm-hmm. You guys talked about your approach to, I imagine this took some work with the designers, but you talked about how you attacked the casework different on this project, like the build outs of the rooms.
Help me what you're after there, Art.
Like the nurse stations.
Oh, team stations, right? Okay, I'm sorry. So Art and I we talked about this a little bit yesterday. So when we've got a team station or a nurse station, as we've called them in the past historically, right? So we got lots of those throughout the hospital. A lot of times in the past, we've built those as a big casework or a big piece of millwork, right? So it's a carpentry project. You build that, you anchor it in place. It's a big monument there forever and ever, right? And you're either, as you go through, the future of the hospital, as hospital's up and operational, and maybe the way we do care changes a little bit. You're either working around that monument, or if you want to make any modifications to that, it's a carpentry project. It's an actual construction project, right? So as much as we could in this facility, we used modular construction, particularly furniture, for those team stations. McLaren's got a partnership with Steelcase. Steelcase was able to bring to us a lot of solutions for team stations and or non-clinical type areas that were modular construction. If we get this hospital up and running and they decide it's not quite working for them, we just call a furniture vendor. They come in, they remove a couple panels, they change a couple things, raise a couple things, all stuff that you can do pretty non-intrusively. that if that was a piece of millwork, we'd have a construction project. And another one was we tried to stay away from a lot of built-ins in the rooms. And you walk into a lot of hospital rooms or exam rooms, and they've got cabinets built in. They're built in, bolted to the wall, right? That doesn't give us any flexibility future forward. So we try to use a lot of more mobile solutions, carts, loose cabinetry, that kind of thing, so that when we get that call a year from now that layout of this exam room just isn't quite working, or we bought a new piece of equipment, we need 6 more inches, right? We roll the cart out, bring in a smaller cart. We aren't calling a contractor that, hey, we need some new millwork.
Well, that's got to be. I mean, how did the hospital take that? Because you think about it, you just drastically reduce the downtime when they have to reconfigure a space or a room, or what was their
leadership embraced it very much so, because they understand that. They see the dollars associated with it. They understand what those impacts are. The frontline caregivers, it was we got some pushback because all they know is what they know. And for years, right, it's been built-in stuff. It's been, we do it this way. We need all these cabinets. We need to store everything in the room, right? Well, how about this kind of solution? And you had to kind of slowly help them through the thought process that really it's not going to be that bad. It's actually going to improve how you do business, how you give care. Part of what we had to do a lot of times was put mock-ups or scenarios in place for them to be able to actually see it, right? So sometimes we would take equipment over to the existing hospital and let them test drive it. Let's clear out one of these exam rooms. Let's put in here what we're proposing and test drive it. And pretty soon they come back to us and, this is pretty good. We like this.
I got to imagine you guys work with a lot of clients. McLaren's obviously a big one. How are future conversations? I mean, how are the conversations going with these guys? Are they kind of like watching to see how this works, or are they kind of chomping at the bit to give it a try on theirs?
With other clients?
Yeah.
So we try to take those lessons we learn on projects and take those forward to other projects, and we can show them. We can use our past projects to show them, listen, it's worked. We'll connect them with other clients that we, so move on to the next project and build something for another client. Here's what we did on the last place, and they are super excited about it. It's working real well for them. We can connect them with those. We're the people that can take you to show you where it works.
Now, just thinking, so you've talked about all these great benefits. If we could kind of spend the next couple of minutes talking about, where would you love to see the architectural engineering community go? And then I got a couple other after that.
Sure. Yeah. I think the architecture engineering community, one of the biggest things we can ask for from them is to get those resources on their team that understand what happens inside the walls, right? So we got a lot of very smart people, a lot of very talented people that go to, architecture school, they go to engineering school, they've got degrees, they're great at what they do, but until you've worked, for instance, inside a hospital, until you've been there, seen what the day-to-day is, you don't know some of the nuances that go on in there. So get those people on your team that can help you understand that, and be willing to challenge even the clinicians, right? That you bring a clinician in and they tell you, no, we've got to have cabinets that are bolted to the wall. Well, let's think about this. Let's challenge them a little bit. It's not just, don't just take what they've been doing for 20 or 30 years and redraw it again. Let's challenge them. What's best practices, and use those subject matter experts that you can get in-house.
How would you, I mean, that's a tall order to kind of put on them. How do you see that they could do that? I mean, it's not like a local hospital can be like, yeah, bring your engineering team in, and kind of like, what are your thoughts on how they could get that?
So a lot of it you can get with, spending some time when you have a project, right? Once you're part of a project like this, make sure to not just ask for time in the meeting room with these people. Have your meetings, have your design sessions at the facility, and then when you come up against something that either doesn't seem right, or you want to question, you want to challenge, go take a walk. Just go spend 15 minutes with these folks and see what they do every day. See what their challenges are. Make sure you understand it. It looks a lot different sometimes when you're standing there looking at it than when you're trying to just draw it on paper.
All right. I think of the next people I think of are like the construction managers and general contractors. What are your thoughts for those guys?
The biggest thing there is understand the entire process. So that starts with, these projects start long before, contractors are involved, right? So there's planning, there's business planning. So before architects are even involved, this is owners saying, I've got an idea. Here's what I want to do. Trying to put the business plan together. They've got a finite amount of resources, particularly money a lot of times, and they want to find out how to make it work. And the contractors need to understand there's a whole lot of planning that goes into it before they get there. There's a whole lot that happens after they leave. From a hospital, for instance, there's millions and millions and millions of dollars of IT equipment, medical equipment that somebody's got to procure and install and functionally test before this hospital goes online. So the contractor, even though they're a very important part of it, is just one part of it, right? So they get focused very much on putting bricks and mortar in place, but understand the other parts that need to happen, and that it's pretty fluid sometimes when we get to dealing with technology and equipment vendors.
Now, my next thought is we talk so much about the design and the building process. What have you guys, we'll talk more a little bit here in a few minutes about Kramer Management Group and some of the unique things they're doing, but what about the turnover? How are you guys seeing that? I mean, because a lot of times in my world, I've been on the construction side. So we're done, we turn over the keys, we walk away. What are you seeing? Are there more players involved after that you guys are working with? What's going on there?
Yeah, absolutely. So, contractor hands the owner the keys. Like we said, that's really just kicking off the process. Because there's, I'll use the hospital we're building right now, for instance. So anybody that's been in the healthcare world, particularly on the operations side, facility management, there's a lot of regulatory control on hospitals. Joint Commission, a lot of people have heard the Joint Commission, but there's a lot of requirements that we have to meet, and once we hand that over to the owner, they have to take it to another level. The construction team, the design construction team may have met all the code requirements. Then there's a whole other set of requirements and testing and tracking that we have to put in place. On our project, for instance, we've got several thousand new assets that we have to all log into a maintenance system, right? So that's everything from an air handler to a fire alarm device. We have to put those in our maintenance management system, and we've got requirements to track and test all that. So there's a big effort there. There's just teaching our people that are going to be using these buildings. The facilities team is obviously a big one, where they need to learn the building. They need to know how to maintain that building. They need to know when there's a problem. Where do I go? How do I fix it? But we also have clinical teams that are getting all new equipment, right? So whether it's a piece of X-ray equipment that may be new to them, so there's a lot of training and onboarding for that too. So there's a big effort between the time that the contractor hands the owner keys to the time that we're really up and functioning. So if for instance, we're going to see our first patient in March, there's a big a heavy lift between now and March just to get the building ready from an operations side. Our construction teams they're winding down. They're going to be done in December. We get handed the keys, but it's another 2 or 3 months before we're ready to see our first patient in there.
It's interesting because most hospitals, we think they've always been there, they're always adding to, but this is actually going to be a new facility where the doors, it's a brand new campus. The doors open. I just kind of laugh, like, is there going to be a waiting line?
Well, we can certainly hope so, right? That everybody wants to come, and there's just that much demand. But no.
Are we talking like waiting line, like Apple stores, Like, what are we talking here?
No. So in all reality, we hope to get a lot of patients through the door, but it's one of the big things. You don't want to have people waiting, right? Throughput, you got to keep people moving. You want to make sure your processes, you've got your processes down on day one. You don't have any time to learn your way through it. You've got to know what you're doing. You got to hit the ground running. So that's part of what's going to happen at the new McLaren facility in January and February. It's what we're calling activation, the activation period, where everybody is 3,000 some employees, right? It's going to be their first day on the job, essentially. It's so we've got to go through basically what's a new hire orientation for all these folks. Everything from where do I park my car to where's the locker room and where's the light switch, all those new house kind of things, right? So we've got to get through that, unit specific training, equipment specific training, and get everybody ready to go for that first day. And that's kind of thing that the contractors a lot of times don't understand, right? Well, what's it matter if we're still there doing punch list? What's it matter if we're still doing commissioning, right? That's all great stuff, but we need you gone so we can learn our building here, right?
Okay. Well, I appreciate all this stuff, Austin. One thing I'd love to do is hear a little bit, just to wrap up here, how things changed. I mean, I knew you working side by side as a construction manager. I knew you when you were a facility manager. We talked a little bit the other day about how your world changed a lot when you became an owner's rep. So if you can maybe talk a little bit about that, and then also transition. I mean, Kramer Management Group is always looking for great talent, and we kind of end with that.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah. Right. So as Art said, I've over 20 years, I've had the opportunity to be on the construction side, the owner side as a project manager, the owner side as a facility manager, and now working as the owner's rep, particularly as a program manager for this new project and overseeing everything. It's a great position to be in. You get to see everything, the whole process through, right? And at the same time, you're responsible for everything for the whole process through. You're not just designing, you're not just building, you're not just occupying. It's everything. But it's very gratifying to see and put this whole thing together. When we step back, it's been a little over 4 years that I've been involved with this project. And, come March, we're going to be able to take a step back and look at this $600 million healthcare campus that we put together and can be proud of for the entire community. And Kramer Management gave me the opportunity when they recruited me to come work on this project. Kramer does that for a lot of different owners, in the healthcare market, hospitality, power, a lot of different markets, and can serve that role for a lot of different owners.
Okay, so I know. Is there anything else you want to share about Kramer Management Group? I mean, it's
local to Lansing here, but can do projects throughout the state. Have done projects throughout the state. Once we've got a lot of good processes in place, and those processes translate well to just about any type of project, really anywhere.
Well, I know from my years of experience, I can definitely say it's been interesting to watch Pete Kramer build this group. When I look back, owners representatives isn't something that people go out there and they promote themselves about. But I've really watched how your group is definitely different. And this example, what you've been talking about today, really shines a light on it. And I can't say that I've seen a lot of owners reps that have really stepped up to that level and shine like that. So again, I do thank you for those that get a chance to watch this. Appreciate Austin coming in. I think you guys would really enjoy working with someone like him in the future. He gave you some really good tidbits on how to align yourself to be ready. They are truly looking for people to think outside the box and are going to do things different. So thank you again for watching, and thank you, Austin, for being here.
Yeah, thanks for the invite, Art.